Good morning, Andrews Elementary, and happy Friday. That's right, today is May 8th. It's a big weekend because we've got Mother's Day coming up. So, Mr. Stemley is going to post a really cool video with some great ideas that you can do for Mother's Day. But first, I wanted to talk to you about something. So, we've been, self-quarantined, as, you probably are. And, hair's getting a little crazy here, okay? Now, I posted a video yesterday and I got a text from Mr. Muckle, who's our 5th grade teacher, teasing me about my hair. Now, he did it all in fun. It wasn't mean. He was just joking. But he said I looked like I needed a haircut, and they referred me to an actor in a movie called Castaway. Now, in that movie, the character in the movie gets stranded on a deserted island, and is all by himself for days and days, weeks, months and months. So his hair gets really crazy. And because he gets so lonely, he starts talking to his friend Wilson, who's a volleyball that was stranded on the beach. So I thought I would introduce my own friend just for Mr. Muckle. Now, this friend, his name's not Wilson. His name's actually Bandon. All right. So Bandon or Baden, he's going to be my buddy, and he's going to listen to James and the Giant Peach Chapter 2 today. So I'm going to set him right here so he can hear and have a front page or a front seat. All right, stay right there, Bandon. All right, Bandon, perfect. All right, so to show Mr. Muckle that quarantine hair is pretty awesome, I would like you to send me some pictures of your crazy hair if you have some crazy hair. So I want you to take a picture of your crazy hair, send it to me, and my email address is B as in boy, McIntyre, MCINTYRE at trschools.org. Okay? Again, it's B McIntyre at trschools.org. Now, if you send me those pictures, I would love to show Mr. Muckle and everybody else how cool quarantine hair is. All right? So, I hope I get some photos from you. Now, well, as I said, this weekend is Mother's Day. Sunday is the actual day. So it's not just a day to celebrate mothers. It's a day to celebrate all the women in our lives that take care of us, okay? So if you have a mom that you're living with right now, make sure you show her extra appreciation. That may be a grandma, an aunt, any special lady in your life. Make sure you tell them that you love them and you appreciate all that they do. Now, you don't have to get them a gift or make them anything. Really, what they really all love is just to hear how much you appreciate their hard work and dedication to you. All right? So, if you remember chapter 1 from our book, James had a pretty rough start. His parents died, all right, because a rhinoceros escaped from the zoo. All right, so he got shipped off to his mean aunt's house. Aunt Spiker is one of them. And the other name, what was her name? I forgot. Aunt Sponge, okay? Now, Aunt Sponge and Aunt Spiker are abusive families. They don't treat him very well. He's up on the top of a hill all by himself, and he's not allowed to go anywhere. So right now, things are looking pretty bleak for James. So let's see what chapter 2 brings us. Now, while I'm reading this story, because there's not as many pictures as normal, I would like you to kind of just close your eyes or visualize what I'm reading. So get a picture in your head, and that will help you understand and comprehend some of the things that I'm reading. So, chapter 2. After James Henry Trotter had been living with his aunts for 3 whole years, there came a morning when something rather peculiar happened to him. And this thing, which I say was only rather peculiar, soon caused a second thing to happen that was very peculiar. And then the very peculiar thing, in its own turn, caused a really fantastically peculiar thing to occur. It all started on a blazing hot day in the middle of summer. Aunt Sponge and Aunt Spiker and James were out in the garden. James had been put to work as usual. This time he was chopping wood for the kitchen stove. Aunt Sponge and Aunt Spiker were sitting comfortably in deck chairs nearby, sipping tall glasses of fuzzy lemonade and watching him to see that he didn't stop work for one moment. Aunt Sponge was enormously fat and very short. She had small piggy eyes and a sunken mouth, and one of those white flabby faces that look exactly as though it had been boiled. She was like a great white soggy overboiled cabbage. Aunt Spiker, on the other hand, was lean and tall and bony. She wore steel-rimmed spectacles that fixed on the end of her nose with a clip. She had a screeching voice and long, wet, narrow lips, and whenever she got angry or excited, little flecks of spit would come shooting out of her mouth as she talked. And there they sat, these two ghastly hags, sipping their drinks, and every now and again screaming at James to chop faster and faster. They also talked about themselves, each one saying how beautiful they thought she was. Aunt Sponge had a long-handled mirror on her lap, and she kept picking it up and gazing at her own hideous face. Now, check out these pictures. Hopefully you have an idea in your mind. You were visualizing what they look like, but here's the illustration. So here's a song. I look and smell, Aunt Sponge declared, as lovely as a rose. Just feast your eyes upon my face. Observe my shapely nose. Behold my heavenly silky locks. And if I take off both my socks, you'll see my dainty toes. But don't forget, Aunt Spiker cried, how much your tummy shows. So they're not very nice to each other either. Aunt Sponge went red. Aunt Spiker said, my sweet, you cannot win. Behold my gorgeous curvy shape, my teeth, my charming grin. Oh, beauteous me, how I adore my radiant looks, and please ignore the pimple on my chin. My dear old trout, Aunt Sponge cried, you're only bones and skin. Such loveliness as I can only truly shine in Hollywood, Aunt Sponge declared. Oh, wouldn't that be fine? I'd capture all the nation's hearts. They'd give me all the leading parts. The stars would all resign. I think you'll make, Aunt Spiker said, a lovely Frankenstein. Poor James was still slaving away at the chopping block. The heat was terrible. He was sweating all over. His arm was aching. The chopper was a large, blunt thing that far too heavy for a small boy to use. And as he worked, James began thinking about all the other children in the world and what they might be doing at this moment. Some would be riding tricycles in their garden. Some would be walking in cool woods and picking up bunches of wild flowers, and all the little friends whom he used to know would be down by the seaside, playing in the wet sand and splashing around in the water. Great tears began oozing out of James's eyes and rolling down his cheeks. He stopped working and leaned against the chopping block, overwhelmed by his own unhappiness. Gotta make sure you can see that picture there. What's the matter with you? Aunt Spiker screeched, glaring at him over the top of her steel spectacles. James began to cry. Stop that immediately and get on with your work, you nasty little beast, Aunt Sponge ordered. Oh, Auntie Sponge, James cried out. And Auntie Spiker, couldn't we all, please, just for once, go down to the seaside on the bus? It isn't very far, and I feel so hot and awful and lonely. Why, you lazy, good-for-nothing brute, Aunt Spiker shouted. Beat him, cried Aunt Sponge. I certainly will, Aunt Spiker snapped. She glared at James, and James looked back at her with large, frightened eyes. I shall beat you later in the day when I don't feel so hot, she said. And now get out of my sight, you disgusting little worm, and give me some peace. James turned and ran. He ran off as fast as he could to the far end of the garden and hid himself behind a clump of dirty old laurel bushes that we mentioned earlier. Then he covered his face with his hands, and he began to cry and cry. That's the end of chapter 2. So things haven't gotten better for James yet, but just wait, it's coming. All right, friends, let's have a great Friday. Remember, it's Specials Day, so work on those specials. Get your workout in, do some art, and sing. Practice those vocal cords. Have a great Friday, friends. Remember, if nobody told you they love you today, I love you very much.